Hey Warriors, thanks for joining me for another episode of the Disabled to Enabled podcast with me, your host, Jessie Ace. Today's episode is sponsored by our friends at Beekeepers Naturals, natural health products created by bees. Their products are so good that I've not had a cold the entire winter, and that is unheard of. Did you know that without bees we'd have no coffee? Crazy. Check out mmini.me/bees. That's mmini.me/bees and use code WARRIOR for 10% off today, or click the link in the show notes. By clicking this link, by the way, Beekeepers Naturals will give back to the Disabled to Enabled podcast. My name is Jessie Ace. I'm part of a group of enabled warriors that you've probably never heard of. We're fighting back against our invisible illness and taking the dis out of disability. We don't give sympathy to our symptoms. They enable us to be the warrior that we are. If you ask doctors and nurses, they'd say what we're doing is impossible. But pushing the limits of our conditions is something that we have to break through every single day. See, we push the limits. We are mentally strong, and we can do anything. The question is, how far can we push those limits? This podcast will give you the answers. I'm Jessie Ace, and this is the Disabled to Enabled podcast. Enabled Warriors, my next guest at only 23 years old has already lived in Los Angeles, Florida, Georgia, Texas, and Arkansas. She's worked as a makeup artist in TV and movies before switching careers after her diagnosis to work on making a platform to educate other people on the use of service dogs and invisible illnesses. Over the last 5 years, her condition has been getting worse and worse, and she has been turned away by doctors again and again, but she's finally found a good doctor who got her the right tests, and it's all finally clicked in place to find a diagnosis at last. So excited to be speaking to her today, everybody. Enabled Warriors, please welcome to the show. It's Shelby Gottschalk, everybody. Woo!
Woo!
Hey!
Hi.
Today?
I'm good. How are you?
Oh, I am excellent, thank you. It is so lovely to have you here today. It's amazing. And I've already seen your dog in the back of the video, which I love.
Yes. She's always got to have an eye on me. One eye this way, one eye that way. So
Always. So let's get straight in by discussing what really first happened 5 years ago when you kind of knew something wasn't right. Like, where were you at the time? How old were you at the time? Tell us.
Okay, so I was probably about 17, 18 when I first noticed things were just kind of getting too much is what I'm going to say. So I had kind of issues on and off with my life. I always had some GI issues, but doctors kind of brushed it off, she'll grow out of it, things like that. I had a lot of like regurgitation issues, TMI, but things like that. And people didn't always know. A lot of people, even at 3 years old, doctors would tell my mom that it was an attention thing. Like I'd be over there playing by myself and she'd come and be like, "What are you doing?" And I had food in my mouth from the day before. And doctors said that was, me trying to get attention. And so my poor mom never really knew, what to do with that. But so I always kind of had things like that, and I would get infections a lot. Like I was always getting kidney infections and kind of different sicknesses off and on. I would say things kind of plateaued during my like preteen years. I saw like some relief in things, and then high school was okay. But then for some reason, when I hit like 17, 18, my body decided, I think we're not gonna hold yourself together anymore. So I was actually living on my own. I graduated from high school at 16 and I was ready, go start my life, go live on my own, go pursue my dreams. I was always interested in makeup and just making people feel beautiful. So I went off to California. I went to school for makeup artistry, and I followed the film industry to Georgia because that's where they film a lot of movies and TV shows now. And I got some work there. But realizing the hours and the physical stress that puts on your body is really when my body kind of started to tell on itself. So obviously, as you can imagine, it's long days on sets and stuff. And not really taking breaks, and you're always standing because you got to be ready, to hop in and do touch-ups on somebody. But yeah, and that's kind of when my body was like, something's not quite right. And I started to have my GI issues again, and things started getting worse, and I was getting sick a lot. And again, nobody knew. That's weird. Wonder what's wrong with you. You're only, 18 years old. You should be fine, but your body is kind of acting like a 80-year-old woman. So, what's going on? And I was literally told by some GI doctors just to eat an apple and that would fix my problem.
Okay.
Because
What?
apples solve everything. Yes.
That's crazy.
So yeah, I was turned away, like you said at the beginning, by a lot of doctors who just were like, you're too young to have any major issues. You're fine. Have a great day. Go eat an apple. Well, one day, I think I was about 19 years old. I woke up and I was having a really hard time breathing. And I had never had asthma as a kid, no history of lung issues. So I'm like, what's going on? My mom is not one to like jump to, oh my gosh, you're dying. She's always, okay, let's see if you get better later. Never got better later. My lips kind of started to turn blue, and she's like, maybe we should take you to the doctor. So I go to the doctor and the pulmonologist who specializes in, lungs and stuff. And they did the P.O.T, which is where you test your lung function. And I was only at about 50-60% lung function, just out of the blue. And they're like, okay, this is not normal. So why is a 19-year-old adult just all of a sudden struggling to breathe and having really decreased lung function? And yeah, so finally someone started to pay attention a little bit. When you're dying, people tend to pay attention. But I was then, they started drawing weird labs that nobody had ever drawn for me before, like my immunoglobulin panel, which is what makes up your immune system, and different things like that. Well, those came back not normal, as one would imagine if they did the right tests. And my immunoglobulin panel was all wrong. Basically, I have a primary immune deficiency, which means I don't have the antibodies built up to fight off illnesses. I don't fight off sicknesses. I get sick, if I'm around people that are sick, and I don't have the right things that fight off germs, the bacteria. So that explains why I was getting sick all the time. And then, from there, everything just started falling into place. So for me, it was more the diagnosis of the immune deficiency that then led to the discovery of all the other things. Like, why was I having anaphylaxis all the time? Where did the GI issues come from? And then slowly it led from one good doctor that actually listened and ran the right tests to then sending me to the right people who then were able to do the right things to get the right diagnoses and finally have like a treatment plan that I can follow. So started with immune deficiency, worked my way around, and now I have discovered I have gastroparesis, which was the stomach issue. I don't know if you've heard of mast cell activation syndrome. That's actually becoming more of a widespread thing with people our age for some reason, especially in the States. They call it a trifecta. So a lot of people with dysautonomia who have an autonomic system dysfunction, like P.O.T.S. Have you heard of P.O.T.S?
I have.
So I have, yes, awesome, yes. So I have P.O.T.S as well. A lot of us have that, EDS, which is the Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, and then mast cells is actually something that's being found with a lot of patients. Mast cell activation syndrome is when basically your body, everybody has mast cells. It's normal to have mast cells. Some of us have too many, but people with mast cell disorders, they're activating at the wrong times. So basically my body's telling me I'm allergic to something that I shouldn't be allergic to and going into overdrive, which then sets you into like anaphylaxis, breakout in rashes, and things like that. So yeah, it was very interesting to like finally get answers to all the things that should have been healed by an apple, but things like that. But that's my long story. Finally, I've come to a place of I have some answers and I can, sleep at night.
Wow. I'm so
Yeah.
glad that you finally got to that answer, because that must have been driving you crazy.
Oh my gosh. Well, yeah, because nobody could figure it out because nobody was running the right tests. And that's the thing is some of these things are rare, I mean, primary immune deficiency is rare because doctors aren't looking for it. They actually teach doctors a saying called don't look for when you hear hoof prints, this is the saying, when you hear hoof prints, don't look for zebras, look for horses, which basically means if you think something's wrong, don't assume it's anything rare. Don't assume it's anything weird. Just stick to what you know, stick to the book. This is a saying that doctors are taught in medical school. And my doctors that I was able to finally find were always looking for the zebras because they're like, no, there are these people that when they hear hoof prints coming, it's not the horse, it's the zebra. And it's the people with the rare illnesses that are finally coming to light. And there's more of us than people realize, but doctors just aren't, doing the right tests and knowing what to look for. So it's about education too.
Gosh, that's strange, isn't it? But if they're being told to, diagnose that way, then who is really at fault? That is
Exactly. I blame medical school.
medical school.
Ugh. I mean, to an extent, but it is about changing with the times. I mean, things are so different now, and we can't just stick. If we all just stuck to our little box, we would never find any answers to anything. Cures for cancer and different illnesses. If we just stuck to what we know, nobody would get help. So,
Totally,
definitely.
yeah. So what? How does your condition actually affect you day to day? Like, what does that mean for you?
So for me, obviously eating is a challenge because of the GI issues. Again, this might be TMI, but I'm completely laxative dependent. Like my large bowel and my small intestine don't move. Like they're completely paralyzed, as well as my stomach. So that leads to a lot of discomfort and issues, getting nutrition in. As far as EDS, I have like a lot of back pain that a 23-year-old shouldn't have, different joint issues that make you feel like an 80-year-old woman. As you know, the POTS and dysautonomia can be super heavy. Definitely not fun to pass out just because you're standing up and, makes things like showering super hard, just daily activities where your heart just kind of decides to go into tachycardia and you hit the floor and things like that. But, and with all of this, I've actually developed hypoglycemia, which is really low blood sugar, but I don't have diabetes. So they're blaming all my GI issues on that kind of ruined my pancreas a little bit because I was never able to get like the proper nutrition. So now I have really low blood sugar problems. And that's one of the harder things I've been dealing with lately is managing that because it can get super low even at night when I'm sleeping, and that leads to seizures and death. So yeah, just keeping track of the blood sugars has been one of my hardest things, but yeah, all of it.
You're training your service angel Luna to help you with that, which is amazing.
Yes.
Some of the videos you've been putting on Instagram and things of her like picking up your machine and bringing it to you. I was like, oh my gosh, that's such a clever dog.
Thank you. Yes, she has literally changed my life. And, they're technically in training until they're about 2 years old. So she's a year and a half. She's working with a program called Starfleet Service Dogs, and they're based in the US, but they are kind of nationwide. So really we have a trainer that's kind of like our on-the-go trainer. We chat on FaceTime every week. She's always there for me to text and send videos and questions. So we work with a professional trainer. She teaches me what I need to know, and then I give it to Luna. So yeah, she even in training has already saved my life multiple times just with my blood sugar lows, and she naturally picked up the heart rate alerts, which is interesting. Because there's a smell. I don't know if you know this, Jessie. We have a smell when our POTS is acting up. It's a cortisol thing that the dogs can actually smell when you're starting to go into your tachycardia syndrome. And yeah, you're releasing like a cortisol, and she can smell that. And she naturally is telling me, hey, you should probably sit down. Like, I think, you might want to go get yourself checked out. And sure enough, she's been right, 99% of the time. And I was like pre-syncope and had to sit down and she fixed it. So yeah, she's definitely, like you said, an angel for me. I could not be more grateful to have her, for sure.
It's just amazing. I mean, how do you train a dog to be a service dog? Because like my dog is ridiculous. I've had her for 4 years now. She's only just learned to fetch something, and she doesn't know how to bring it back to you when you've thrown it. So she'll chase after it and get it, but she won't bring it back.
I mean, maybe that's smart on her part, you know, like she doesn't want to give it back to you, so she's smart enough to be like, I'm gonna keep this. Honestly, technically, the answer is every dog can be a service dog, right? There's not a breed discrimination. In the United States, we have the American with Disability Act that actually covers like different laws regarding service dogs. So there isn't any breed discrimination. It's not like, oh, you have to have a poodle, you have to have a Labrador. It's really up to the dog. And that's how you train the dog. Do they want to work? I mean, maybe your dog doesn't. Yeah, I mean, it really depends on like the temperament and stuff. And I've been working with Luna since she was a baby. Like since I got her from the breeder, we started like day one just working on basic obedience stuff and having her smell the smells, like smelling the low blood sugars and smelling the heart rate stuff. And they naturally pick up on it. And my trainer actually told me every single dog can smell it. Every dog, even your dog, can smell when you're having your P.O.T.S episodes. But a lot of dogs just don't know what to do about it. They just don't know what to do. They don't know how to tell you. They don't know if they're supposed to tell you, but they smell it because dogs' noses are fantastic. I actually read an article that dogs' noses are so similar to being able to smell a teaspoon of a chemical in like 3 Olympic swimming pools.
Wow.
Like they can smell the smallest changes in our bodies. They just don't know how to tell us. So really it's just about teaching the dog what you want them to do and how to help you. And if they want to work, they'll pick up on it super fast. But some dogs, you know, they don't want to work and they don't want to, you know, bring the ball back to you and things like that. And that's totally fine too. I mean, we all need pets and they definitely help us in their own ways. But yeah, if the dog wants to work, they'll tell you for sure.
Oh, gosh, this is amazing. I know she's behind you again.
She's always there somewhere.
On YouTube, you can actually see Luna walking around in the background, and it's adorable.
Thank you. We try.
So, do you have any like doggy training tips that you can pass on to anybody?
High value treats. I mean, seriously, people, like you need to have the good stuff, especially when it comes to like the glucose training or like the cortisol, anything with scent training. Definitely have like, get yourself some steak. Yeah, get them like a nice steak, like high value treats, definitely. But number one would be patience. Like you really have to have patience to train a dog. It's not going to happen overnight. Me and Luna have had our fights. There's been days I've called my trainer like, it's never going to happen. You know, I quit, we're done. But especially during the puppy stage when they go through their teenage years, and she had a little bit of a rebellion stage and she's like, you think I'm going to do what you want me to do? Ha, not today. Oh yes.
Sassy.
Oh yes. She got so sassy, but she grew out of that. And, you know, just persistence and patience. Just stick with the dog. Just because they're having a bad day doesn't mean they're going to have a bad life. You know, it'll work out in the end. So patience, 100%.
Patience and good treats. See,
yes.
This is the thing that we've really struggled with because our dog is allergic to absolutely everything. So she has to be on like medicated kibbles and stuff. So food's really not a driver for her. So training her is ridiculous.
You know, for dogs like that though, does she like to play with toys?
She loves to play, but she loves to play on her own. She doesn't really like to play with people.
Interesting. Does she like praise? Like, is she one that will like doll over being super praised?
Yeah,
like telling her.
And cuddles and things.
Well, that would probably be your high value reward then, because some dogs, that's all it takes. Like Labrador retrievers are so food motivated. That's why they make good service dogs, because they are all about the treats. They will do anything for treats. But there's some dogs, like some days Luna doesn't care about the steak. And you got to find, okay, well, what's her second favorite thing? She loves attention. She loves to be praised and told she's the most amazing thing in the world. So it really is a dog by dog basis. So maybe for your dog, it's just, you know, telling her she's the queen. you know, the queen of the house, giving her all the belly rubs and just that attention. They're like, yes, I did something right. For sure.
I will certainly have to try that then.
They're all different. It's so crazy, but yeah.
So I know we've touched on this a little bit, but so what kind of symptoms do you kind of feel day to day, and how does Luna really help you with those symptoms?
So there's not too much she can do in regards to like the GI issues, right? I mean, she can't help me with that, but she does help me. I was trying to think, how does she even help me with my EDS and stuff? But she helps me a lot without having to bend over. As another P.O.T.S patient, I'm sure you know that can sometimes bring issues when you stand back up from, having to bend over and get something off the floor. And your heart's like, what did you just do? So she'll get things for me. She picks things up off the floor. If I'm in another room, she can go find my phone. She can get the glucometer. Just task training has been a lifesaver to help me, save my spoons, as, some people would say, just to save the energy. I mean, even just the little things, she's opening the fridge and closing the fridge and things like that so that I don't have to, do too much and spread myself too thin on days where I'm having a hard time just getting out of bed, But she's doing her scent training. So she's been doing amazing. I'm so excited about like the blood sugars and stuff. We actually use something called a Bringsel, which you might have seen on Instagram. It's this little biothane strap that attaches to her collar. If she comes back, I'll have to show you. But it's blue, which is one of the colors that dogs can see the most out of all the colors. So it looks like this, if anybody's watching on a video. So it's like a biothane thing. It has a clip that attaches to her collar. So she then bends down and she will grab it and hold it in her mouth.
Wow.
Now, some people might be like, okay, well, why does she need to use that? Well, this is really good for blood sugar alerts because it's a very distinct alert. So Luna's natural alert is to hit me. Like if she notices like my heart rate's off, she'll come over and she will look me dead in the eyes and she'll just start pawing my leg. Like, hey, you need to go sit down, go. And I'm like, okay, sheesh, stop hitting me. But now that's for a lot of dogs actually, is they'll either nudge you with their nose or they'll lick you, in a weird way, or they'll hit you. And for her, it's hitting. So it's the pawing. And, but that can mean a lot of things because that's her natural alert. So it's hard to know what's wrong with you if you're not sure what she's actually trying to tell you. So for us, we're trying to break it down so that she has specific ways of alerting for certain things. So maybe we will keep the hitting for my P.O.T.S and dysautonomia. And for the Bringsel, that's very much it's your blood sugar. So there's no question about it. You don't have to go test yourself in a million ways. Like, okay, what's my heart rate? What's my blood sugar? Let me go check all my vitals. But I know when she picks up the Bringsel, it's my blood sugar and something's wrong and I need to go have something right now.
That's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Does it work the same with like medication or treatment or
yeah, so you mean like does she give me medication and stuff like that, or what do you mean for them?
Thank you. Because that would be really helpful.
Oh my gosh. Well, yes, you can totally train a dog. We are working on that. So she has a vest. I'll have to show you. She has a vest that she wears. A lot of dogs wear those service dog vests. Hers actually has saddlebags. So there's zippers on the sides. And you can put things inside. I have my EpiPens. I have medications and suckers. It's like lollipops when my blood sugar's low. So she's carrying on her back like a little emergency kit for me. And she's actually learned to open the zipper on her own. So she can open her own bag and like get something out. But you can absolutely put medication in something, even if you don't have a service dog, just as a pet. I mean, you could do this. Put a medicine bag somewhere that the dog can get, make sure your medicine's in there. You'll have to do this consistently, but make sure that if you have to take your medication at a certain time, you're going to ask the dog to get the bag of medication at the same time every day, and obviously treat them or praise them every time they do it. And eventually they start to tell time. They'll be like, hey, it's that time you reminded me yesterday to get you that thing that got me a treat. So I think I'm going to do that. And they do, and they pick up on it. So she's working on that right now, actually, to bring me her vest, because that's where I keep the medication. And then I'll be like, oh, it's time to take the meds, unzip the bag, take the meds. But yeah, that's something super easy dogs can pick up on, is to remind you to take your medicine. You just have to teach them the times you want it.
That's so clever.
I know, they're too smart for our own good. We don't deserve dogs. That's what I've come to the conclusion. They're literally walking angels,
They are.
Don't
Yeah.
deserve them. Dogs are dogs. And I think that's another thing people forget about even service dogs, is like, she's not perfect. She's 100% ripped up her toys, and I've had to clean up the mess, especially, during her teenage phase. But they're not perfect, but they're good at what they do. So they're not robots.
No.
There might be a time when they're like, I don't want to get that for you. And you're like, thanks for thinking about it.
Go and get
Yeah.
medication.
Yeah, I'm dying. Thankfully, it hasn't happened like that. But everybody has an off day, right? And if they don't feel good, you don't force them to work. So with our organization, they actually have a question like, if you were sick, would you go into work? And a lot of us are like, yes, we want to make money. We go into work sick. What do you mean? But would you want to? Like, do you really want to go into work when you're sick? Yeah. And the answer is no. Who wants to work when they're sick? So it's the same for service dogs. If she's having a day where she's not feeling good, I'm not gonna force my dog to do something that she doesn't feel up to doing, because then she'll learn to hate her job, and she needs to love it. And she does. So definitely treating them like, living beings. They're not perfect, so don't feel too discouraged that, your dog destroyed the toy. It's fine. It's all part of the process, right?
Okay, I'm trusting you on that one. So, what do you think are the common misconceptions around service dogs?
There's a few. Definitely kind of like I was saying, that they're perfect all the time. You might see a team out in public and think, oh my gosh, they're so perfect. Look at the dog, healing right next to her owner. They probably do nothing wrong ever. But, later that day, they still chicken off the counter. Like, they're not perfect. Like I said, they're not robots. They all have off days, but we do strive to keep them at like a high standard, I guess is the word, because you are taking them into public, and you are going places that most dogs don't have the privilege of going, and you want them to not just be a dog all over the place sniffing around being inappropriate. We definitely have standards we have to uphold to even be allowed to go into public. But yeah, they're not robots. They have off days. And the second thing I was thinking about when I was considering this question was that some people, even my family, had told me this after I got a service dog. They thought service dogs hated their job. Like, oh, they must be miserable. How, they're being forced to work. They probably hate it. They don't get to be normal dogs.
Yeah.
That could not be farther from the truth. And that's something you don't always know unless you're in this world. You might see someone, with a service dog and think, oh, that poor dog having to, work, doesn't get to have any fun. No, like, these dogs love it. When Luna is not working, she does not know what to do. Like, she's like, I need a job. Like, she will start bringing me things like, do you need your glucometer? What about your medicine? Like, do you need your phone? We could get your sunglasses. We can leave. What do you need? Like, she does not know how to be a normal dog because she loves it so much, though. Like, she loves having a job. Like, she loves having something she has to do. She feels so important. And I mean, it has to do isn't even the word. She wants to do it. I don't force her to do anything she doesn't want to do. And that's something a lot of people don't realize. We are not, we're not military people forcing the people to do things, go out into war and fight for our lives. No, this is something every day she has to tell me, hey, I want to work today. Do you want to work today? Yeah, I'd like to work today. And then we go off on our day and she works and she helps me out. And that's the happiest she's ever is when she's working. And she has her dog days and moments and times. When we're home, she's technically not on duty. She's choosing to be in the room with me and hanging out. And because she is keeping an eye on me, and she's always, what's wrong with mom? Where is she? What's going on? But 100% she's off. Her vest is off. She's a dog. Like, she can go play with my mom's dog. She can go do whatever. We go to their house. She runs their acres. Like, she gets to be a dog, and she deserves that. Just like everybody deserves off time. So yeah, definitely people don't always realize that they get to be dogs, but they do, and they need to, just because that makes them love working so much more.
Totally. It gives them that freedom again, that break.
Oh, for sure. For sure. They need a break. Definitely.
I totally resonate with Luna though, because if I'm not working, like, I don't know what to do with myself either.
You feel like her a little bit. Yeah, I do feel that way too. I like to have a job, don't you? Like, you like to have a purpose, something you're working on.
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah, I can relate to that too. Makes sense. Keeps us motivated. That's what I say.
Exactly. So what do you think of the do's and don'ts for being around a service dog as a like a member of the public?
That is another very good question, and I'll try to keep it a short answer because I feel like my answers are so long for you. But the do's and don'ts, obviously, it's everybody's first reaction to be like, oh my gosh, it's a dog. Like, I can't walk into any place without someone talking about how I have a dog, and like they've never seen a dog before. But yeah, and that's the thing, and you have to realize it is different. Like, everybody has seen a dog. You go to your friend's house, they have a dog, whatever. But it is weird for some people to see dogs in a restaurant or in the mall, and things like that. So it is something everybody's like, but then it's just asking people to kind of take a step back and be like, remember why we have them. Would I have had a service dog if I didn't need to have a service dog? No, because it is a lot. It's a lot of work, and it's a lot of pressure, and it is a lot of eyes on you. And there's some people that, it's probably not the best treatment option to have a service dog. If you have really bad anxiety with people looking at you, I'm so sorry, but that is going to be your life forever. Like, I can't go anywhere without being the center of attention. So if you love attention, it's perfect for you. But it's the do's would be, talk to the owner. We don't mind answering, for the most part, we don't mind answering questions about the dog and stuff like that. And, but we want to feel like we're important too. And a lot of times, people will just focus on the dog or talk to the dog, and like, we're invisible. We don't matter anymore. We have a dog. So a lot of the time, it can be a little disheartening because nobody's really talking to you anymore. They're all, talking to the cute little service dog next to you. But it's remembering, we have them for a reason. They are doing a job, and even just talking to the dog and making noises at them and stuff, it's a distraction. It's not only petting them. So a lot of the time on service dogs, you'll see, the do not pet sign, like, service dog, do not pet. Well, that's great. Please don't pet them. But it's also talking to them. Like, some people don't realize, oh, I know I can't pet you. They're talking to my dog, who in turn is now looking at this person like they're crazy. But it's just the distraction factor. It's not touching. So you talking to my dog is still distracting my dog, even though you're not touching it, just because I need her to be focused on me. And if my blood sugar drops at any second, as it does, or, my tachycardia is kind of getting out of control, she could miss that because you're making kissy noises from across the room. So that's really why we have that. And a lot of people think, we're just being mean and, stuck up. We don't want people to pet our dog. But honestly, no. And there are times with even like little kids, I might release her. Like, if I feel like, okay, I'm good, my blood sugar's up, my heart rate's good, I'll let her go say hi to someone. I'll release her. I have a command, so she knows she's allowed to go say hi. Mm-hmm. So I go say hi, and she goes up, and they give her a little pet, and then she comes back and she's back to work. But yeah, I think the do's are, remember that we're people, we're in the room too. And the don'ts are just, please, as tempting as it is, just try not to distract the dog.
Leave the dog alone.
Leave the dog alone. I know it's so hard because I love dogs too. You know, if I saw a super cute dog, I'd want to say hi too. But honestly, they are literally saving my life every minute. They are out with me. So please remember, for the safety of the humans, to ignore the dog.
Please
But
ignore the dog.
yes,
But that's the
please.
hardest thing ever sometimes, isn't it? And
It
I'm sure when you
is.
get little kids, especially running up to the dog and they want
Yes.
to touch it, they don't really understand what a
Mm-mm.
service is.
No, no, no. And I try to educate them, you know, and you got to be nice. There are some people, you know, that they've had a long day and they don't have the patience to like explain all the things. But when I can, I 100% am always trying to educate people. Like, this is why, you know, I'm not trying to be a mean person. And I know my dog's adorable, but you know, this is what she does for me. And, you know, I need her to be on her game, and especially for kids. And I love when I walk by, there have been a few times where I walk by a mom and her daughter, and she's like, "Look, honey, it's a service dog. We can't pet it though, 'cause
Oh,
it's working." And you hear them educating their kids, and you're like, "Yes, you know, Mother of the Year award." But you know, some kids aren't educated because they have never seen it, or maybe their parents aren't even educated on it, so they don't know like what the heck is a service dog, you know. So definitely educating your kids and stuff, so important. But I love when I hear that. Makes my day.
that's amazing. You see, you need to do videos like this on Instagram. This is what you do with a service dog.
I'll start doing some education. Oh, I mean, hey, that's a really good idea. I feel like I do need to probably do more of that, you know, just letting the public know, hey guys, please, please don't do this. But yeah, and education, 100%.
That's amazing. So, can you tell us a little bit more about the platform that you're wanting to set up?
Oh, for sure. So my biggest thing right now is I just want to raise awareness about not even just invisible disabilities. I think those are definitely starting to come to light more in the media and things like that, because there are so many of us, especially in this age range for some reason. I don't know, like the 20s. It's like now people are starting to come out and, you know, talk about their issues. But, you know, not all disabilities are visible, as you definitely talk about on your podcast, which is why I love it so much. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people think that though, and they see me walking around with a service dog, and they're like, "Why does she need that? You know, what's wrong with her that you know she looks fine?" And I have makeup on today, and you know, I'm feeling myself. No, but I mean, I try to be presentable, you know, when I can, but you won't always see the things going on that my body is literally attacking itself 24/7, and you know, you don't see the blood sugar drops and things like that. So it's definitely something I'm passionate about, to raise awareness that, you know, you can't, like people say, you can't judge a book by its cover, and you can't know what's inside, what's going on just based on how someone looks, because we all don't look the same. Our disabilities don't show themselves the same way. And then also paired with that, you know, rare diseases. I have a lot of things that are classified as rare illnesses, but they're only rare because there's not enough education about it. There's not enough doctors that know what tests to run. There's not enough patients that know what to ask for. So there's so many more people like me that are out there suffering, and they don't know what to ask for. They don't know how to get help. And so they suffer in silence and be told to eat an apple. And I'm all for like patient advocating is a big deal to me, because I've dealt with this for so long that I've gotten to like the end of my rope when I finally found like a doctor that was, and they're all smart. It's not to say that the doctors back then weren't smart, but doctors that just think outside the box. Like there's so many of us that are outside their normal range of, you know, what they're used to seeing, and they have to start looking at that because things are changing. And there's so many people, like I said, out there like me that are suffering in silence because they don't know, well, my doctor said I'm fine, so guess we're good, you know, but then, you know, they get pneumonia next month, and then what? You know, so, and then obviously pairing that with service dogs, how they can definitely be a huge part of any treatment plan, getting your doctors on board with it, your family, your friends, just having that support team. And they can definitely save lives. And I think a lot of people don't always think about service dogs as part of their treatment plan for their illnesses. It was something I didn't think about for a very long time until my struggles started getting worse and I started doing research. I'm like, hey, I am a candidate for this. Like, why, why have I waited this long to have something help me so much?
Yeah.
And that's something that really kind of struck with me. And it's not something you do on a whim. You don't go just, get a service dog. And a lot of organizations, there's either a lot of money involved or there's a long wait list. So when I found Starfleet, they're a nonprofit, they actually go into rescues locally around, their regions, and they pull dogs that meet their temperament tests. They academy train them, and then they pair them off with people, no charge. Or for people like me that already had, like a puppy and started discovering this world, they'll work with you. Hey, is your dog a fit for this type of work? They do the same temperament testing. They work with you, they train the dog, and you can do that from anywhere in the world. So definitely spreading awareness about all of that is something I'm so passionate about.
Yes, absolutely. Can you just name the charity again?
Yes, Starfleet Service Dogs.
Starfleet Service Dogs. I'm going
Mm-hmm.
to add a link to them in.
Yes. Oh, they've been a lifesaver. I could not do this without them. Definitely.
I love the fact that they get them from rescues as well.
Oh, yes. Oh, my gosh.
Rescues, and they need to be.
Well, and there's so many dogs in rescues that are perfect for this work. And they take a lot of the dogs that people would not have thought that. Like, they have a lot of husky mixes and German Shepherd mixes, but they make the smartest service dogs that are so easy to train for them. But people just don't give them a chance, because they're in the back of the rescue and maybe they look a little scary or something because, they got those blue eyes and things like that. But I love that they go in and they rescue the dogs, give them a second chance at life to then go and save someone else's. It's
amazing. So beautiful. I love that. It's so
yes,
good.
ma'am.
So going back to you, what is the most interesting piece of non-helpful advice that someone has ever given you to
Oh my
help?
gosh.
And I say this with air quotes on YouTube, you can see mine, and to help or not help with your invisible illness. What would you say?
Well, we've talked about the apple many times.
Damn apple.
I literally was so in awe. Like, that is, wow, to say that to a person. Like, can you imagine just any doctor for any reason? Like, when has that ever solved anything? That's what I want to know. Like, has that really, I mean, the saying, an apple a day keeps the doctor away, but like, is that real? Like, she was set on it, I guess.
Different reason, isn't it?
I mean, I don't know, but an apple is a cure-all medicine is the first thing I would say. And then, another thing I would say that has been a not helpful thing is to just try exercising more. I don't know if you've gotten that before. Obviously, exercise is very important and moving your body will help with symptoms, but it's not going to fix it. It's,
It does make it a little bit better.
Yes, 100%. When we all need to be moving more in this day and age, but that is not a cure-all. So,
expect, isn't it? It's like, oh, well, you should just exercise because it's going to cure everything, or you should just take this and it's going to.
Oh, for sure.
No, it's
for
not
sure.
Right?
And if it was, that would be amazing. And
everybody'd do it, wouldn't it?
Right. We would all be perfect. What's the problem? Why aren't we doing this? But yeah, definitely. I think a lot of us have heard that before, just walk it off, eat an apple and things like that. But sadly, that's not going to fix it completely. So yeah, I've gotten those a lot.
Yeah.
That's my answer.
I was once told about a flower in Mexico that can cure multiple sclerosis. I was like, wow. I don't think so, honey, but okay.
Oh my goodness. I mean, we might need to go flower picking. I would love if there was a magical flower. It reminds me of like Tangled or something that,
flowers in my garden, see what they do.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Well, and a lot of the thing, eat healthier. I try to eat so healthy, and sadly has not fixed my problems. But I mean, again, like you said, these things can help, they help with some of the symptoms, but do they fix the actual, disease, the problem? No, but thank you for the advice. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, give it a shot.
Definitely.
But at the same time,
Yeah.
it's really not
No.
helpful. So what advice would you give to others that are newly diagnosed with a chronic condition?
That is such a good question too. Honestly, to have patience with yourself. It's something super hard, I'm sure, as you know as well, to be kind to yourself and be patient. There's days that you're going to be slower than other days, and there's days you might not get to do all the things you wanted to do, but you got to just realize, today is going to be one of those days, but tomorrow might be even better because you rested today, and tomorrow you're going to kill it. So just giving yourself like a break. I feel like we're so hard on ourselves, especially in the chronic illness community. I should be doing this. And, you look at other people your age doing things that you wish you could be doing, but you don't have, the same things going on in your life that they do. So you got to remember that and give yourself a break. We're so hard on ourselves. So I would just say, don't be hard on yourself and just be patient, for sure. Yeah, it's so hard. I got to take my own advice, but
I know, but sometimes we forget, and I think just having that reminder sometimes is enough.
for sure, for sure. And put something on your mirror, like write a note to yourself, like, hey, just be kind to yourself. We're always talking about being kind to others, which is so important, but it has to start with yourself. You have to be kind to yourself, because if you're talking crap about yourself, how kind are you going to be to other people? You're not going to feel like you have anything to contribute. If you're just so down on yourself, you've got to give yourself a break. So
Absolutely. And there's
definitely.
a thing that they say on airplanes when they say put your own
Yes,
mask on first and then you can help someone else. So you have to look after yourself
for
before
sure.
you can look after someone else.
For sure. 100%. If you're not feeling it today, how helpful are you going to be with anybody else? So 100%. I love that.
And that's one, especially for carers as well, people who look after other people with chronic illnesses or anything like that. It's you have to look after yourself.
Oh, for sure. And my mom is kind of that person for me. She's always, like, I live by myself, but she tries to come over every day and like, what's going on? What can I do for you? And she's so sweet. She's always trying to help clean my house and things like that. But I want her to have her cup full first, before trying to fill mine, and before, you know, doing anything for anybody else. You've got to put yourself first. And she struggles with that, as I'm sure a lot of, people who care for people with chronic illnesses do. Their lives end up somehow revolving around the patient and, the child, or, the spouse or whatever. But it's so hard to remember to take care of yourself. But us with the chronic illness want that. And I think that they forget that. Like, I want my mom to do what she needs to do. Like, go get yourself pampered, like, be so kind to yourself. Stop being so hard on yourself. Go take care of yourself today, and I'll see you tomorrow. Things like that. They totally forget. So we want that for them.
We want that for them, absolutely.
Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely. So, are you ready for some super quick secrets, Shelby?
I am ready.
It's time, let's do this. Okay, Enabled Warriors, we've talked about some heavy stuff today and a lot about dogs, which I actually really like. We should do more. Let's have a bit of fun before we go, okay? So this is the part of the show where we find out a little bit more about the personality of our guest with some super quick secrets. Are you ready for this, Shelby?
I'm ready. I think.
Inspiring book that you've ever read?
I love books. It's so hard. Right now, I even brought this one over so I could remember it. So back to dogs, because the whole thing's about dogs. But this is called Dr. Dogs. And if anyone is ever curious, like even you, Jesse, you need to read this. It's called Dr. Dogs by Maria Goodavage. So I'll put it here so you guys can see. It is literally a book about how our best friends are becoming our best medicine. That's what it's called. So it has so many stories about people with medical alert dogs and like how they've saved their lives, and even just some scientific facts about how amazing dogs are and their noses and stuff. It's just been so inspiring to read this book and hear all the amazing stories about dogs that are like doing their jobs and, you know, saving their people. There's people with diabetic alert dogs, PTSD, autism. I mean, there's so many things that these dogs do, and this has like changed my life. So everybody needs to read it. Yes, go get it on Amazon.
That'll for sure be on my Amazon list. Don't
Yes.
Okay,
So good.
what's the weirdest thing that you've ever done?
Weirdest thing I've ever done. I feel like I'm such a weird person, but you try to think of like, what is one weird thing? You know, what is some weird thing I've ever done? Honestly, oh gosh, I tried to think of an answer for this and I couldn't think of an answer. I mean, I'm probably that one weirdo that's like taking selfies in weird places they probably shouldn't be taking selfies, or I'm the weirdo that takes pictures of my dog like when I probably shouldn't, you know, things like that. But I don't know. I've definitely been a teenager in love with like my favorite bands and like singers and stuff like that. Like I've been the person that's like waited up all night to like call the radio station and try to win like free tickets to something. Like those are weird to think about now, but hey, I have won some contests in my life because I've been that dedicated person. Definitely.
You did send me a picture of you and Ed Sheeran. Was that one?
Mhm. That was totally one of those contests. So, like, yes, me and Ed Sheeran, 100%. Yes, he was one of my favorites, and I still love him. But he was one of my favorite singers all throughout like middle school and high school, and I was able to like get in touch with his manager and like got my way backstage, and that was probably one of the weirdest things I've ever done. But you know, you live once, right?
How did you manage to get backstage?
Oh, girl. We'll have to talk about this later. It's fine. I mean, you know, you have your ways, but it's fine. You got to make friends with the right people. That's all I'm going to say.
So what is your most favorite place that you have ever visited?
I travel a lot for doctor's appointments because the things I have are so weird that people locally can't help me. So I have like one doctor in Florida, I have one doctor in Virginia, I have a doctor in Mississippi, and literally everywhere. So I try to find something that I like about everywhere I go. Like if I'm going to go travel for doctor's appointments, I'm going to enjoy where I'm going. Like I'm going to go see like what are the cool places to visit in Mississippi, and you know, things like that. Try to sightsee a little bit. I loved Washington, D.C. And if you've ever, I don't know, have you been to America? Have you come?
I've been to America, yeah. I've not been to that many places, though.
Oh, go to Washington, D.C. because that's where all the history is. And the museums are amazing. I loved it. I loved it. And then the other thing I would say is I love in Florida, we were annual pass holders to Universal Studios. I don't know if you've ever been there. Oh my gosh. If you love Harry Potter,
Oh, yes.
it is the place to be. So we would go there all the time when we could. And I'm actually going to be going there for Christmas vacation. I'm so excited. Yeah, we're going to go to Hogwarts and celebrate Christmas. But it's such a magical place for me just because of all the memories I've made there. Like my sister and I, that's kind of our happy place. We would just go there together and have like a sister weekend or a sister day. So to me, it's not even like leaving the country and going to these, you know, extravagant places like the Bahamas or whatever. To me, it's like I could just go to Florida and go to the theme park with my sister and I'll be happy. So
That is so cool.
my
I love
favorite.
that. What is the scariest thing that you've ever done?
Ugh. Scariest thing I've ever done. I have two answers. My first answer is probably there's some medical procedures I've had done that I would not have wanted. And they were super scary, you know, but they're things that you have to do to stay alive and, you know, things like that. I had something done kind of recently that was a little traumatizing, super scary, and I wasn't really sedated for it. And it was not something I would ever want to do again. But it just is one of those things that kind of shows yourself that you're stronger than you think. Because while you're laying there on the operation table, while things are being done to you that you have no control over, you're like, I really don't want to be here. But guess what? I am here and I'm doing it. So obviously, medical experiences can be super scary. But something kind of fun, scary I've done is I went parasailing. Have you ever done that?
No.
Do you know what parasailing is? So it's when you're on the boat on the water and they have like one of those parachute things and it like brings you up as the boat goes faster. So you're kind of like flying above the ocean, which is kind of scary if you're afraid of like sharks or falling, heights, things like that. But I loved it. I want to do that again. It was some random place like off the beach in Florida where this guy had a boat and he had one of those parachutes and you strap yourself in and you kind of just glide. But it was really fun. It was a little scary, but I would love to do that again for sure.
That sounds awesome.
It's so fun.
I'm gonna go and do that.
Yes. I mean, I know some people have said probably like jumping out of an airplane, not gonna happen for me. I couldn't do skydiving, but I will do parasailing any day for sure.
Yeah, that sounds so much better. I mean, a lot of people come on here and they say, I've jumped out of a plane and
no.
it's amazing. And then other people are like, yeah, I'd never do it again. Never do that again. I'm like, why did you do it in the first place?
What is the answer? It was amazing or never do it again. It's like there's no in between for these people, right? But yeah, I couldn't do it. I commend the people that do. I'm curious about the feeling. I would like to know what that's like, but will I ever do it? No. I will stay on the ground with you, Jessie.
I think I'm the same on that one. Oh my gosh, Shelby, it's been amazing talking to you today. Before we go, where can other warriors find out more about you and what you do?
So Instagram is probably my most active platform, which is at service.angel.luna. And you can see like all our training updates with Luna, all the things that she's getting to do through her eyes. And then I do have a Twitter, which I need to be better about, but it's called twitter.com/Shelby's Smiles. So SHELBYSSMILES. So that's me. I'll be there.
Well, I'll put both those in the show notes for you so that warriors listening can go and listen, and so can go and connect. I need to go and lie down and have a nap. Thank you so much for coming on the show today, Shelby.
Thank you.
So much from you, and it's just been amazing to spend time with you today. So remember, warriors, you can go and connect with Shelby at instagram.com/service.angel.luna or twitter.com/Shelby
Smiles. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And remember, warriors, stay enabled. Thanks so much, Shelby, for being on today. Amazing. Catch you later.
Thank you.
Bye. If you want to fight back against your invisible illness and help take the dis out of disability, then join the tribe on Facebook, facebook.com/enabled warriors. If you love this podcast, click that subscribe button and never miss another episode. And remember, warriors, stay enabled.